Hi there. Tonight, Sleepy Bunny is time traveling with you to a small medieval town, and you are the heroine in the story. Elise's cottage is a sanctuary of plants. Bundles of drying herbs hang from the walls. Clay pots on the windowsill hold medicines ready for use. Calendula, sage, rosemary. For each, she has murmured, "May I take a little?" The villagers need her mint tea for headaches, her calendula salve for wounds. But when droughts linger or children cry in the night, gratitude curdles into whispers. Why do the crows always gather on her roof? How does she know which well would be dry soon? Elise does not argue. She merely leaves extra herbs at the village edge after foraging, a bundle for the old carpenter's cough, a few sprigs for the widow's sleeplessness. It is a lesson from her mother. Kindness should grow like wildflowers, whether the soil remembers it or not. On a deep autumn evening, as Elise mends her leather-bound notebook, a servant from the mayor's house knocks secretly at her door. The child has been fevered for 3 days. Raving, the servant whispers, "Will you come?" Elise glances at the darkening sky. Heavy clouds hang low in the northwest, promising rain. "The wind is rising," she says, closing her book and lifting her herb basket. But there is still time. She does not yet know this evening wind brings not just rain, but the kindling for a terror about to engulf the entire village. Elise kneels on the rush mat beside the mayor's child. Her first act is not to check the pulse, but to open the window, letting the damp, cold air flush the stifling room. "The wind carries sickness away," she explains, laying out her herbs. Mint leaves still glistening with evening dew, pale green willow bark, dried but intact elderflowers picked under last summer's full moon. Her movements are a fluid dance, grinding, blending, stirring in hot water, each gesture filled with a tender focus, as if soothing a frightened soul, not just brewing medicine. After the child drinks the potion, Elise hums. It is no prayer or known ballad, but an improvised melody that rises and falls with the night wind, adjusting to the crackle of the hearth fire. Later, the maid will testify this was a devil's incantation, but in that dim room it was merely peace, like a stream over stones, like rain on leaves. The fever breaks before dawn. The child sleeps deeply, a healthy sweat on his brow. Elise packs her things, refusing extra coin, taking only the 3 promised coppers. As she leaves, she notices a pot of basil dying on the windowsill, leaves curled and yellow. Almost without thought, she touches the soil, then sprinkles a bit of her own mixture, crushed eggshell and wood ash, into the pot. "Give it morning sun, water at dusk," she tells the maid. "Basil dislikes noon's burn, just as a feverish child needs shade." This ordinary advice will later become at the trial. The witch commanded plants to shun God's midday light, proof she worships darkness. Elise knows none of this. Walking home, she pauses, not from weariness, but because a wild rose blooms stubbornly by the path pink and defiant out of season. She crouches, gently touching the petals. "Do you also think winter comes too soon?" she whispers, smiling. It is the last free smile of Elise Villa. As she walks on, the mayor's wife is in the bedchamber, following the priest's instructions, wrapping the child's used bandages. A few strands of hair and a silver coin into a linen cloth, tucking it deep into a wall crevice. Embroidered in one corner of the cloth are the words, "Lord, protect us from all evil." The first step to being protected from evil, it seems, is to first create it. A week later, livestock begin dying strangely. First, the blacksmith's sheep, eyes pecked out, then the miller's dog, found rigid as stone, unmarked. Panic spreads like brushfire. An explanation is needed, and one is already prepared. The mayor's son recovered too quickly. An unnatural bargain must have been struck. It was Elise Villard, testifies the tavern keeper. She cursed my ale when I refused her last week, and it turned sour. The river water avoided her skirts when she washed, claims a laundress. Her mother was a witch. The sulphur runs in the blood. The accusations pile up, each light as a feather, together heavy as shackles. Elise is arrested while hanging herbs in her cottage. She does not resist, only asks quietly to bring her satchel containing dried plants, grinding tools, her tattered notebook. The trial is held in the church, presided over by the new priest, Father Francois. Young, fervent, he believes himself tasked with purifying the world. Ellis Villa, do you admit to using witchcraft to heal the mayor's child? I used knowledge of herbs, Father. Wisdom God gave all living things. Wisdom? Father Francois holds up her notebook. This records moon phases for harvest, stars for potency. This is astrology, the devil's calendar. Gasps from the pews. Elise looks at the priest and understands. This is not a search for truth, but a performance of power. She stays silent. Silence is confession, Father Francois declares. We shall use all lawful means to elicit your truth. The witch hunter's manual states, water, being pure, will reject a witch's body. Elise is brought to the frozen pond. A hole is hacked in the ice. Her right thumb is bound to her left big toe, and she is thrown into the paralyzing water. If she floats, the water rejects her, proof of guilt. If she sinks, she is innocent. A meticulously designed death sentence. All bodies float, unless they choose not to fight. Elise plunges into black cold. In that instant, she recalls her mother's final look before the pyre, not fear, but profound sorrow. Water floods her nose, burns her lungs. She struggles instinctively. The rope cuts flesh. She floats. The crowd roars. Witch! Witch! Dragged ashore, trembling, lips blue, Elise hears Father Francois lean close. Confess, child. Admit your sins, and your soul may yet be saved. Coughing water, she rasps. My only sin was believing you still had a conscience. Time loses meaning in the stone cell. Only a high slit offers light. Stripped to her thin shift, the cold seeps into her bones. On the third day, Father Francois brings the scribe. Elise, confess to a pact with the devil. Name your coven, and the penalty may be reduced to hanging. The pyre is reserved for the obstinate. I have no coven. Every witch has a Sabbath. Give names, end this suffering. Elise closes her eyes. She knows the progression. Merciful torture, from sleep deprivation to needles seeking the devil's mark. Then the rack and hot pincers. That night, the jailer's bread contains a sliver of beeswax and a thin metal scrap. Elise recognizes the cloth, a handkerchief embroidered with forget-me-nots. A thank you from the miller's wife whose migraines she once eased. A seed of hope, tiny as a mustard grain, sprouts in the dark. The execution takes place in the square. By the time Elise is dragged to the pyre, she is too weak to stand. Her confession is read aloud. A fantasy penned by the scribe from the priest's dictation, full of grotesque details. Congress with the devil in cat form. Feasting on infants at midnight, brewing poisons with moonblood. The crowd spits, throws stones, a child hurls rotten cabbage. Father Francois thunders, "Behold the price of sin, yet her soul may be saved if flame purifies this flesh." A torch meets straw and pine pitch at the pyre's base. Fire leaps up, hungry. As smoke billows, Elise looks not to God, but to the wind northwest, blowing toward the church tower. Before flames swallow her, the crowd hears her say, clear as a bell, "You are burning your own conscience." Then only screaming, cut short by smoke and roar. They watch a black silhouette writhe in the inferno, crossing themselves, feeling both horror and a sick satisfaction. An hour later, only smouldering ash and charred bone remain. As custom dictates, the ashes are scattered in the river, lest they poison the land. Father Francois declares the parish cleansed. 7 days after the burning, Luca the scribe disappears. An outsider hired to record the trial, he was last seen in the tavern, counting his silver, muttering about moving on. His room is untouched, his belongings remain. Only the official trial ledger is gone. Meanwhile, strange sightings spread. A pale figure in the woods at night. Dead fish floating where the ashes were scattered. The church bell tolling thrice at midnight, untouched. Father Francois dismisses it as devilish residue. But his own sleep is invaded by nightmares. Elise standing not bound in water, but walking upon it, burning roses blooming beneath her feet. A month later, a royal messenger arrives with a sealed order from the Paris Parlement. Upon evidence and petition, the witch trials in the parish of Saint-Michel, Lorraine, are under suspicion of grave procedural violation and fabricated testimony. Commissioner Jean Martin is dispatched to review all cases. All further actions are suspended. The village is in uproar. Father Francois pales. Slander. We followed every orthodox procedure. The evidence submitted includes a complete copy of the trial record, private notes of involved parties, and detailed analysis of testimonial contradictions, the messenger states flatly. A copy? The original vanished with Luca. Then someone copied it before it disappeared. Commissioner Jean Martin is a severe man who believes in law over theology. He examines the mysterious copy, its margins filled with annotations. Witness claims accused cursed ale to sour, but tavern ledger shows all village ale spoiled from improper storage that week. The water-avoiding skirts phenomenon is common with heavy fabric in swift currents. Physics provides an explanation. Herbal recipe used on child matches formula on page 47 of Paris Faculty of Medicine's Compendium of Medicinal Plants. More damning are the appendices. A description of the evidence bundle hidden by the mayor's wife. The tavern keeper signed admission that he lied after Elise rejected his advances. Even records of a similar case in Father Francois's previous parish, where the witch was posthumously proven innocent. How was this obtained? Martin asks. The anonymous covering letter states only, from one who believes truth should not be burned. Under pressure, Father Francois cracks, admitting perhaps excessive zeal, but insisting his goal was souls, he is suspended. That night, praying in the empty church, he hears movement in the confessional. From behind the grate, a voice, distorted and hoarse. "Father, I wish to confess. Speak, my child." I witnessed a murder and stayed silent. I saw lies enshrined as truth, an innocent burned. My sin is cowardice. Francois freezes. "You speak of Elise Villiers. Fire consumed her, but not all proof. The scribe Luca did not simply vanish. He was bribed to leave with the original record, then robbed and killed on the road, arranged by those who thought it would bury the truth. Who are you? I am Conscience, Father, the one you burned. A soft click, then retreating footsteps. Francois flings open the confessional door. It is empty. Only on the floor lies a single dried rose, its petals charred black, as if touched by flame. Spring thaws the ice. The miller's daughter goes to gather flowers by the river and sees a hooded woman washing an herb basket in the shallows. The girl approaches, offering help. The woman turns. Beneath the hood is a face terribly scarred, skin twisted, the left eye nearly sealed, but the right eye clear and calm. "Thank you. I am finished." The voice is rough as sandstone. The girl gasps. You are Tante Elise? They said I died." The woman, Elise nods slightly. "In a way, I did." The pyre had been a carefully planned escape. The beeswax, moulded into plugs, protected her airways. The metal scrap sawed at the ropes. Beneath the pyre, sympathizers had dug a narrow cavity, lined with wet clay and plaster. As the fire burned through the base, she fell into this pocket, surviving with terrible burns. Under cover of night, they moved her through a hidden river passage. But your face, the price and the disguise. Elise touches her scars. "Now I am Catherine, an herb seller from the north. Elise Villiers did die in that fire. But you gathered the evidence. You took revenge?" Elise shakes her head. "Not revenge, correction. Francois is disgraced, his reign of fear broken. But more important, I live. So long as one victim survives, their perfect victory is a lie." The girl takes her hand. "What do you need?" "Silence and time. The real witch hunt never ends, it only changes shape. It happens wherever people persecute the different out of fear. My fight is not with fire, but with memory. Remember this story, child. When fear comes again, choose to doubt, not to follow." Elise lifts her basket, walking with a slight limp into the deep woods. She merges with the shadows, as if never there. But the girl notices. Where Elise washed her herbs, on a flat river stone, rests a small bundle of fresh mint and rosemary, a gift of thanks, and proof of life. The wind ruffles the water, scattering and reforming the sky's reflection. In the distance, the church bell tolls the hour. The village goes on, unaware that a woman declared dead lives on, bearing witness, ready when the next fire is kindled to become the wind that scatters the smoke. Thank you for finishing the story. If you want to discover more relaxing stories, don't forget to subscribe to Sleepy Bunny's channel. See you in our next story.